Hey, Math 121. So, starting the next lecture on probability and statistics. So we're still in the statistics part here. And that's where we need to learn standard deviation and variance. Okay. I'm screencasting mathisfun.com, which is again just showing you another resource that we can use. Tons of resources out there. If you just Google this, standard deviation and variance, you should find something that'll work for you. Okay, so this is my favorite resource for this topic. Standard deviation. So this is exactly what it means. It's a measure of how spread out our numbers are. So remember those numbers we had in our data set. We want to know how spread out are they compared to other number sets. Okay, we use this Greek letter sigma for that. And this part's funny. The formula is easy. It's just the square root of the variance, right? The hard part is the variance, okay? So really the first thing we have to understand is how to find the variance, okay? So the variance is the average, remember, add them all up, divide by how many there are. The average is the mean of the squared differences. So I'll talk about that in a minute, but we're going to square the differences. Remember, difference is subtracting of the mean, okay? So here we go. Here's an example. So I got these dogs. I got 5 dogs here. They're all different heights. I can take these heights of these dogs down here, and I can add them up, and I can divide by 5 since there's 5 of them. This will help. This will give me my mean, and there's the work for that. So my mean is 394 millimeters. So this green line is my mean. So the first step with finding variance is to find the mean. So you got to know your mean. Once you know your mean, then you're just going to take the difference of each number and the mean. So the Rottweiler was really tall, so 600 was his number. 600 take away 394 is 206, so positive 206. So the Rottweiler is 206 millimeters taller than the average dog. Okay, where the wiener dog here that is minus, so it's just 224 millimeters shorter than the average dog. So you see how that's a negative? So once we get these differences, that's what these purple numbers are. Once we get these differences, we square them. So we square each number, and that's to get rid of the negative, okay? So we don't want the negative because the negative is just a direction, how far away from the mean it is. So we square that, and then we divide by how many there were. So what we're doing is we're finding the average of the squared differences. So that's the math language. But the reality is subtract, square it, add all those numbers up, and then divide by how many you have how many there were. And then that number is called your variance. So it's a pretty big number most of the time. So once we have that variance, we square root it, and we get our standard deviation. So what that means is most dogs fit within one standard deviation, 147, from either side of the mean. So you can see that Rottweilers are not like most dogs. They're bigger than most dogs. And wiener dogs are certainly not like most dogs. They're smaller than most dogs. So most dogs are going to fit into this area, where my Great Dane's going to fit way out here. The toy poodle is probably going to fit down here. But most dogs will fit within 147 millimeters of that mean. And that's our standard deviation. So you need to be able to find standard deviation. I don't care if you use a calculator, if you use Excel. Somehow you need to be able to find this variance and then square root that to find standard deviation. There's examples in your books. If you have TI calculators, they do this by themselves. So just do some Googling. Google, how do I find standard deviation in my TI? Or how do I find standard deviation in Excel? And you're going to find tons of resources to be able to do that. But you are going to have to be able to find variance and standard deviation of a data set. Okay?